When you look at a map, it's easy to see them as, well, just a bunch of big lakes. But the Great Lakes? They're something else entirely. We're talking about a powerful, interconnected system that acts more like a freshwater ocean. So just how extreme is their geography?
Well, let's dive in.
Okay, let's kick things off with this single, staggering number, 21%. Just let that sink in for a second. 21% of all the surface fresh water on the entire planet is right here, in this one system. It's basically the world's most important freshwater savings account.
And if you're trying to wrap your head around just how much water that is, try this on for size. Imagine you could somehow drain all of the Great Lakes. That water would be enough to cover the entire lower 48 states, from California all the way to Maine, under almost 10 feet of water. The scale it's just mind-blowing.
So yeah, with that kind of size, it's no wonder they're more than just lakes. They're truly a system that acts like an ocean. Think about it. They're so huge, they literally create their own weather. You've probably heard of lake effect snow, right? It can completely bury a city like Buffalo, while just a few miles inland, it's perfectly clear. That's the power we're talking about.
And if you want a perfect example of this inland sea idea, just look at Lake Superior. This thing is an absolute giant. By itself, it's the largest freshwater lake on Earth by surface area. We're talking about the size of Austria. It's over 1,300 feet deep and holds a crazy 50% of all the water in the whole system. And get this, you could take all the water from the other 4 Great Lakes, dump it into Superior, and it still wouldn't overflow. That's just wild.
So you gotta wonder, where did these massive inland seas even come from? Well, what's so fascinating is their origin story. It's surprisingly recent and incredibly violent. In geological time, these lakes are practically brand new. And when I say recent, I really mean it. Just 20,000 years ago, which is a blink of an eye geologically, this entire region was buried under an ice sheet that was 2 miles thick. Can you imagine? Then, as the planet warmed up, that massive glacier started to retreat, and by about 10,000 years ago, it had carved out these huge basins in the rock. All that meltwater filled them up, and voila, you have the Great Lakes.
And let me tell you, this wasn't some gentle process. It was unbelievably violent. Geologists have this great name for it, the Continental bulldozer. And it's the perfect description, right? The sheer weight and the constant grinding movement of that ice sheet just scraped and gouged these massive holes right into the Earth's crust.
Now, here's something a lot of people get wrong. It's easy to think of the lakes as just 5 separate still pools of water, but that's not right at all. The whole system is connected. It's basically one gigantic slow-motion waterfall, with every drop of water flowing steadily downhill on its way to the Atlantic Ocean.
So let's follow that journey for a second. It all starts way up in Lake Superior, which sits about 600 feet above sea level. From there, the water takes a step down through a river into Lakes Huron and Michigan. Then it takes another little step down into Lake Erie, and from there it's heading for the big one, the Great Plunge over the Niagara Escarpment.
And when I say plunge, I mean it. Check out this number, 326 feet. That's the massive drop in elevation between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. It's this incredible bottleneck in the system, and it's exactly what creates the world-famous Niagara Falls.
Okay, so you have this incredible, powerful natural geography. And for humans, that presented a huge challenge. But, it also inspired some of the most amazing, most ambitious engineering projects in history. We're talking about projects that literally redrew the map of the continent.
So picture this. It's the early 1800s, and here's the massive problem you're facing. How in the world you get past that huge wall of the Appalachian Mountains to connect this resource-rich inland sea to the Atlantic Ocean and to the rest of the world?
The answer, as it turns out, was the Erie Canal. And what a game changer. It was finished in 1825, and it changed everything. Before the canal, if you wanted to ship goods, you had to take this long, expensive trip south down the Mississippi River. But after, suddenly you had a direct water highway straight to New York City. The impact was insane. Transport costs dropped by 95%. New York City just exploded, and it became the financial capital of America. This one ditch in the ground completely rewired the nation's economy.
But that wasn't the only barrier. You see, between Lake Superior and Lake Huron, the St. Mary's River drops 21 feet over some really violent rapids. So now you have a new problem, right? How are you supposed to get these huge, heavy cargo ships to, well, climb a waterfall?
Simple. You build them a water elevator. And that's pretty much exactly what the Sulaks are.
A ship just sails into this big chamber, the gates slam shut, and then water is either pumped in or drained out to lift or lower the ship to the new level. It's an absolutely brilliant piece of engineering and is still the busiest lock system in the world based on how much cargo passes through.
So you take these incredible natural features and you add these feats of engineering, and what do you get? You get the Great Lakes region as we know it today, a modern global powerhouse. It is, without a doubt, the economic heartbeat of North America.
And I'm not exaggerating. Just look at the scale of this economy. The combined GDP of the Great Lakes region is about $6 trillion. Let me put that in perspective for you. If this region were its own country, its economy would be the third or fourth largest on the entire planet. It would be right up there with Japan and Germany. It's a massive economic engine.
And of course, that economic power is all built on people. There are 60 million people living in the basin. And check this out, 30 million of them, half the population, depend directly on these lakes for their drinking water, which, as you can imagine, makes protecting the water quality one of the most important issues for the entire region.
But for all the good they do, for all the economic benefit, you can't forget these lakes are dangerous, incredibly dangerous. It's estimated that there are somewhere around 6,000 shipwrecks scattered across the bottom of these inland seas.
A lot of those wrecks were caused by this infamous weather pattern they call the gales of November. And the most famous victim of all, of course, was the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. This was a huge, modern freighter, and it went down in a brutal Lake Superior storm back in 1975. It's just a chilling reminder that these aren't calm, gentle lakes. They are wild, and they are powerful.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, it becomes so clear. The Great Lakes are so much more than just a feature on a map. They're basically the continent's savings account for the one resource we can't live without, fresh water. It's the foundation for everything, for industry, for farming, and for the lives of tens of millions of people.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? As we look to the future, in a world where fresh water is only becoming more and more scarce, more precious, what does the future hold for North America's greatest natural resource? That's a question we're all going to have to think about.